So, does anyone want to sort of say anything about their own experience or have any questions about these online performance grades? I'm sure. Has anyone ever tried it? I know a couple of you have.
Hi, Robert. I'm happy to go first if everyone's okay.
Okay, Daniel, yes.
Because I've spent the weekend trying to record my pieces. It's been quite arduous. I've literally done tens of recordings because I tend to find I either make a mistake in the first piece or in the last piece, which is rather annoying. Yeah, it's I think everything you said about the structure of the performance. I've obviously thought about that, discussed that with you, and we made sure we've got the right pieces in the right order, which is great. In terms of the recording itself, I'm just using a kind of a stand to put my phone onto, on top of a couple of coffee tables, which is what I'm using at the moment. I literally just finished my final recording just before this started, so hopefully that's my...
So yeah, I mean, actually the view that we have of you at the moment, can everyone see Daniel's setup there? I mean, that's a really good setup because you can see the performer clearly, and you can see the pedals and the whole of the keyboard, so that would be a perfect setup for a piano exam, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so carry on, Daniel, yeah.
No, I was going to say, so the actual experience of obviously playing, it's obviously, I've not done a proper exam, the traditional exams, which I can appreciate if you're in front of an examiner, has its own challenges. But I do have to say, just playing the pieces, just knowing the camera is there is very different to playing the pieces without the camera being on as well. But yeah, it's...
So you said you've taken about 10 takes for this, have you?
No. I'm happy to, as long as you don't publish it on YouTube, Robert, I'm happy to say I've just finished my 77th take.
Oh, why can't I publish that? That would give you a lot of encouragement to many people.
However, thankfully for my girlfriend, I didn't do all 4 pieces 77 times. As I say, sometimes
so you got through the first few bars of the first piece and then abandoned.
Yeah. Sorry, Robert?
You got through the first few bars of piece 1 and then abandoned it, did you?
Exactly, yeah. So I think overall there were probably about 10 performances all the way through, or maybe just under 10 performances all the way through. Very annoyingly, about the one I did about 3 before the final one here, I made a mistake. I was perfect all the way through, apart from the penultimate bar on the last piece. I had the wrong chord. So I had to abandon that. And I've got to say, psychologically, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, people think, it's easy if you can record it before the exam because you've got loads of time to do it, and if it goes wrong, you can take it again. But as your experience has shown, 77 times is quite stressful, isn't it?
It is.
And I think stress...
have a review of it, so I might have to do it a 78th time if you think it's not good enough. And
the stress mounts up during...
the difficulty is, if you make a mistake, maybe at the end of the first piece, or particularly, at the end of the last piece, it's when to do the next recording. Because sometimes you're then... you've got a bit of adrenaline because you're angry that you made such maybe a simple mistake or a frustration mistake, and therefore when you do the next recording, it's just rubbish because you're too pumped up, so your fingers aren't working in tune with your brain. So it's getting that balance between when to do the recordings and when not. And I seem to be better when I approached it that actually I'm doing a performance in front of an examiner, rather than I'm just playing the pieces and recording them. And that way my mindset was like, okay, I've only got, if I was doing it in front of the examiner, I'd only have 1 chance.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the approach I take. And in many ways, I actually felt I gave a more confident performance. But I got to say, when I make mistakes and I turn the camera off and I just practice the piece, it is 30 out of 30, even if I say so myself. Turn the camera on and, all sorts of fun, strange things happen to your fingers.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing how much pressure we can put on ourselves. And actually, I've often suggested before all these online exams even started up, I often suggested to my students, that in preparation for an exam to make a recording of themselves, because it sort of mimics that pressure a little bit for an exam.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting to hear your comments on that. Yeah. Okay, now I know Yun, your son did a performance exam recently. Have you got any feedback for us, for the group?
Okay, sure. As Daniel said, it's not that easy. So my plan was to take 1 or 2 videos every day. So it's the over Christmas period. So like if we're successful, we can have 50, 60 videos to choose from. But we end up with about 20. So some are get nervous and it's not the right status, so I stopped in the middle, like directly cut. So yeah, the equipment we use, if you can see, is something like this. So it's stuck to the coffee table, and you can adjust the height and the different angles. So yeah, it's a bit funny at the beginning. If you press too hard, then it's bounce back. It's a bit vibrant, but normally it's fine. Then after a while, when you read the announcement, it's stabilized. I read the program for my son because to ease some nerves. So it's totally different because we do the online lessons because of COVID. So we did several just in one go without announcement. My son did better than with the announcement. It's kind of, it's a trick, say, okay, this is very formal, so it's give you a trick, so get more nervous. Another thing is, it sounds easy because you have multiple chance to pick the best one. But the reality is, I didn't stop him if he makes 1 or 2 or 3 tiny mistakes. But unless it's a very big mistake, like a chord is wrong, then try to correct that, or totally out of the tempo or the wrong rhythm. So just very big mistakes, then I will stop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think there is a negative effect of doing over and over again because you get sort of a mental fatigue.
Yeah.
Yes, I think Daniel was hinting at that when he was saying earlier he has to take a break from doing it because you can, and the more you do, every time the frustration's creeping in. And I had one student, in fact, the one student that did that grade 6 that I showed you the comment at the end, and they sent me a recording. So, is this one better? Is this one better? And actually, they were getting worse because it was just getting frustrating. I said, no, just leave that. Just let's go back with the second one rather than third, fourth, fifth, because you're trying to get harder and harder, and you're actually losing a little bit of the musicality. You're just getting so hooked up and getting it perfect, and you're losing the reason why you're doing music in the first place, which is to be a musician.
Yeah, that's true. I sent you 3 videos to choose from, and the one you choose was not the latest one. It's the one in the middle, because I'm doing like a kind of milestone things. If I feel that's right, then I will keep it, and then try the new things, new feature. Like because you suggest to use the pedal for a very, very long time, but I just refuse to let myself do it. Just mainly because he is small, he can't reach the pedal. So from the all 1 year learning, he did it without pedal. Then I think, okay, if we have a very good quality, the without pedal, then we can try pedal on. But unfortunately, at the end, we have never reached that. But you also mentioned something like reverse the dynamics as the suggested. We tried, it didn't work out for him. So we do try different things. But the new idea introduced, just some we think are better, but you feel it's still not there. So yeah, we just take things step by step. That's quite
Okay.
Sorry, I was just gonna say.
Yes, Daniel. Go on.
Sorry, the other gentleman that was speaking. I think if you can definitely have a lead time between when you need to submit your video, doing 2 or 3 videos a day is definitely the approach. I've only got till next Friday to submit my video, so I only booked it on late last week. So I've only got a week, and obviously doing it on the weekends is the most time I've got to practice. So I've done all my, attempts over the weekend in a very short period of time. But yeah, if I had 2 or 3 weeks, I think definitely doing those 2 or 3 videos a day, and then seeing how it goes.
You're not going to change your mind and go out of office tomorrow to Friday?
I've always got that in the bag, Rachel. So Rachel and I work together.
Plenty of annual leave left.
Yeah. So but I think also with what you were saying about how you get mentally fatigued and frustrated, and I know I said that as well, it's true. But then also, if you take a break, I tend to feel that actually my fingers are warmed up, I'm in the groove. If I take a break, I might have to get back up to speed again. So that's why, yeah, I've done, as I say, 77 attempts over about
I so want to publish that.
I wouldn't recommend it for anybody.
No, I can imagine. All right.
Can I just add, I don't know if you can hear me, I think
Yes, I can.
possibly you lose focus on this performance when the more you have to repeat and repeat and repeat. And where in a traditional exam, perhaps the adrenaline pushes you forward because you're really hyped up for the day, where you maybe lose the adrenaline after 77 attempts.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's similar to what we're saying about the mental fatigue, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Kate. Yes, thank you for that. Because Lavana, you're doing maybe a grade 6 very soon with 4 pieces.
I haven't recorded any videos yet. I haven't finished my 4th piece yet.
No, you're not quite ready for it. But has anything that you've heard been sort of made you think a little bit, or have any questions about any of it?
Well, I hope I'm not going to do so many attempts. I usually get tired by the 3rd attempt.
That would be more practice than you've ever done in a day, wouldn't it? 77 times. So how long did those 77 times, Daniel, actually take? Was it over a period of one session, or?
So I did some yesterday evening, and then I've been playing since about 10:30 this morning till now. But as I say, some of them are only about 30 seconds long, because I made a mistake in bar 3 of the first piece, so it gets abandoned. Or
I suppose the frustrating thing is that you've got to do the announcements at the beginning every time.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to say, that when you hit record, if you could go straight into playing, I personally would prefer that.
Do the announcements at the end, yeah. When you've got a good recording, and put the announcements at the end would be more convenient, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Rather than have to repeat that 77 times.
Yeah, and actually on the first proper recording I did, when I played it all the way through and had the pieces great, I announced the date of the syllabus at the start incorrectly. For some reason I said 2001, 2002 instead of 2021, 2022.
But if you realize that mistake and correct immediately, it should be fine.
Oh, no, I didn't. I only realised after I played the video back.
Oh,
okay.
And the annoying thing is, you probably didn't even have to announce the year of the syllabus because it's written on the form. But for some reason, I was saying it, and
no. And you didn't announce it because it's in the requirement. So you need to announce clearly. But that announcement is not part of the assessment. So.
Yeah.
You have 1 or 2 mistakes, you can correct them easily.
Yeah.
I wonder how strict they are about the format. I mean, obviously there are certain things they've got to insist on, but some things, if it's a bit of common sense, the examiner could work out what you mean. I'm sure.
Yeah, the pieces weren't 100% great, so it was a throwaway take anyway.
Yeah, and I noticed
you didn't mention, Robert, is that they have I think on the website, and when you book the exam, they have sample forms for you to print out and fill in.
Yes.
But I don't have a printer, so I actually had to to write it out myself, and obviously I can't do the official forms, but that's the type of things I put. So
Yeah,
the key fields on there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
just so everyone's.
And I do think I remember you did a handwritten form as well, didn't you?
Yes, because no printer at home, so I
Yeah.
only have at the workplace, so I can't.
And I think, and they obviously, because you had your result back already, so they obviously accepted that as fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, handwritten form.
Yeah,
There we go.
in the guideline, they say they accept it. Even you mentioned the violin, they also accept like CD. If you buy the books with CDs, you can play the CD as your accomplishment. So that's fine. You can.
Yes, in the guidelines, I have heard that, especially with COVID at the moment, they're being a little bit more adaptable to the regulations, aren't they? Preferably, a live accompaniment is not just better for them, but for you. I think an accompanist that is, yeah, I mean, the word accompanist is that they are accompanying you, they are following you. And if you're playing with a CD, you are trying to follow the CD, and you are supposed to be the lead as a solo instrument. But an accompanist should, you know, if you want to do like in higher grades, you've got a bit of rubato and you're pulling around the time a little bit, the accompanist should be sensitive to that and following your lead rather than playing with a CD and you've got to try and fit in with the beats that are on the CD, isn't it? So it's always better to have a live accompaniment, but obviously in times of COVID, it's not always possible. I understand that.
Some people think the performance one is like an easy way around it. No scales, no sight reading, no oral. And miss out on a lot of things that seem to be considered important before.
What is people's opinion on that point, that it's an easy option? Does anyone think it's an easy option? Julia, you haven't said anything yet.
I think, yeah, in one aspect, we don't get to demonstrate our knowledge of scales or sight reading or oral. Would the certificate actually indicate this? That it would probably that it's performance as opposed to a regular exam.
Has anyone had their certificate back? Because I haven't seen any of these certificates. Obviously, it's a new thing. You've only had the mark sheets back, haven't you, Yun? And
yeah, the mark sheet you can clearly see is the performance exam.
Right. But yeah, so that's something we'd have to find out whether it actually says performance grade on the certificates. That's not something that's, you know, I haven't seen one yet, so a certificate for these type of exams. And all my teaching at the moment is remote learning. So, you know, I've actually suggested my students now, even the ones I used to teach privately, you know, locally to me, I suggested they do their own applications now rather than me do it for them and then have to send all the stuff and backwards and forwards with the, you know, certificates and mark sheets. So they've entered themselves. So I haven't seen a certificate since last March. You know,
I think if I, you know, you were talking to me, Robert, about trying it out. I think if I did attempt to do a recording, I'd be most annoyed if I played 3 pieces acceptably, and then when I came to piece number 4, I made a mess. You know,
yeah.
You have to start all over again.
That's exactly the frustration that Daniel was talking about,
yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you will get used to it after 20 attempts, so it's okay.
I have to get a tripod.
Well, possibly, yeah, maybe more like 30. But the good thing is, you know, if you play 3 pieces perfect and make a mistake on the 4th with the performance exam, you can just re-record. If you were in front of an examiner, it's done, right? If you do that in front of an examiner, you've screwed up that last piece.
Oh yes, yes.
Right. So at least this way, it's frustrating. Yeah, you have to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
But you can do it to when you've got at least all 4 comfortably good, and you may have 3 grades and 1 good, or
yes.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is that I think you need to be very careful of with this, and you alluded to it a little bit. You know, you'd be really upset if the 4th one, and then you said, "Oh, but you get used to it." But the thing is, when you get used to it, you also get a little bit stale in your performance. It lacks the same sort of emotion, and you know, the ABRSM do not just mark on getting the right notes, and that's the one thing I'm always trying to get across. You know, if you look at the video that I published separately about how to get a distinction on your pieces, only 1/5 of the marks are given for getting the right notes. And then
the other person who's done the video for their son, I think he's right. If you do a couple of recordings a day, you don't get that fatigue of overexposure within a short period of time, which I've unfortunately had to go through. But yeah, and that way it's fresh every day. Yeah, and that's definitely what I would recommend to everybody.
Yeah. So we'd have to be careful that fatigue doesn't translate into just a stale performance, because you will lose marks then. Even if you get better notes, even if your notes are perfect and your rhythm is dead on, but it's not putting quite so much emotion into your playing.
And you also overanalyze what you're playing, and you keep doing the recordings till you achieve perfection. And we're not going to achieve perfection.
Well, what about keeping other people in the house quiet? Because like I've done a really good recording and then there's a smash and a clatter of plates in the kitchen, and that's completely blown it out as well.
I had one yesterday where a police car came by outside and you could hear the sirens. It's a challenge.
Yeah, I don't think the ABRSM examiner is going to take marks off because a police car went past, but it can distract you, of course. I can imagine that. So it's something to bear in mind, isn't it?